Hi Kickstarters, my name is Franz Tessera. I'm the CEO and founder of Elemental Labs Inc. We are a small Southern California-based Sony-licensed indie developer with passion for making original, creative, and fun-to-play games. REBORN is a third-person multiplayer cyberpunk action RPG with the real-time combat of action games and the depth of traditional RPGs. Dialogue writing and characterization is so important to me, and in order to have a strong narrative element in REBORN, I knew I had to focus on specific key parts of development.
So I first joined REBORN back in 2011 when Franz first told me he wanted to make an action RPG about Miyamoto Musashi, and he wanted it to be in a cyberpunk setting. So I immediately wanted to become part of it because there's two subject areas I've always been familiar with and interested in. So on one hand, there's Musashi, who is one of Japan's most revered warriors in history. And on the other hand, you have the cyberpunk mythos, where a prevalent theme is the concept of what it means to be human, what constitutes the human experience, where cyborgs and robots emanate very human characteristics, such as free thought and free will. They strive to have emotions, to feel, whereas humans strive for wealth and power. We want status, we want to be worshipped like gods, but ironically, we become almost like mindless machines in the process. So I figured I'd weave both themes together for a cohesive narrative. That of being Musashi, a disciplined martial artist, and that of a world where its people believe in cybernetic enhancements, where technology has evolved to the point where it's not just pragmatic, but prestigious as well, reserved only for the wealthy. To develop one's strength and improve one's cognitive abilities, one only has to go to a cyber lab to enhance one's limitations. Hard work, discipline, and free thought are almost the last vestiges of humankind in a world where technology and automation are looked upon as gospel.
To establish REBORN's DNA in terms of the aesthetic value, design language, the mood, and the holistic relationships, our team spent a great deal of time in pre-production phase sorting out the various identities of REBORN. For instance, Musashi's appearance in terms of his face, hair, clothing, weapons, down to the type of environments he interacts with, all the while keeping the artwork synced to one global style, is essential for making REBORN successful.
With REBORN, as with any project that involves handing 2D concept art to a 3D modeler or animator, it's been a top priority to really nail down character concepts and set pieces, not only from a visual standpoint, but from a functionality perspective. It's not enough for a design to be pretty. It has to work in the real world without any texture stretching or a player saying, "Oh, that doesn't make sense." Those are distractions that we're taking great care to keep out of this game. And so it's our job as concept artists to make sure that the game not only looks cohesive from an aesthetic standpoint through the environments and the props and the characters, but that all the subsequent jobs past the drawing with the modelers and the animators and the mocap guys and so forth, that their jobs are all made easier based on what we've done.
艺术指导，我非常明确自己的工作是什么。我要与我们的2D 艺术家和3D 艺术家们密切的合作，从而确保从2D 原画到最终变成3D 模型的时候有95%的相似度。我们相信角色的性格是非常重要的，这不仅仅是对于我们设计者而言，对于你们将要伴随游戏成长的玩家来说更是如此。所以我们会尽可能的确保游戏最终的产品和我们的2D 原画的一致性。
Thereafter, it was on to having our team create high-detailed 3D models based on the 2D concept of character turnarounds. As a gamer first and a creative director second, I am very picky on the identity of the player characters and the level of detail put into the animations. After all, we're making a video game for the next-gen console. Therefore, it is imperative for us to create a playable character's identity close to 90% of the 2D concept art as possible. By no means was this an easy task. However, we have broken it down into a specific formula, one of which we had success over in adapting the 2D concept art into the 3D detailed models.
Here at House of Moves, we're very accustomed to working with video game developers and publishers. We've worked on a ton of AAA video games, Call of Duty, Dead Space, Gears of War, God of War, tons of different titles. And about a year ago, I was introduced to the guys at Elemental Labs, and they approached me about their project REBORN. And just some of the reference images that they had to begin with, I was instantly hooked. We were instantly interested in working with them. We started discussing some of the movements that they were looking for, and I was able to show them kind of how we could bring Musashi and the rest of the characters to life. Really take some of the really natural movements that an actual samurai could create and really push that further. Whether we need to use a stunt rig or not, we can make superhuman movements or just your typical run and walk cycles as needed. A lot of people, especially those not necessarily in the gaming or film industry, have this conception that motion capture is only used on these gigantic titles or gigantic movies or whatnot, and that it's really expensive and that smaller first-time developers can't necessarily afford it. The truth is that motion capture tends to get animators about 80 to 85% of the way there. So the money that you spend up front using motion capture to create even things like walk cycles and run cycles ends up saving the developer money overall in the long haul, and that you don't have to pay an animator, which is typically significantly more expensive, time to create these later on.
Upon getting the asset pipeline ready, the programming team was able to start writing game functions. So with the pipeline set up, the programming team was able to continuously get assets from the art team, streamlining the entire game development flow.
With the streamlined development flow, we're able to prioritize gameplay in terms of combat design above all else. Is the combat challenging and fun? This is the question we've been always asking ourselves. Our combat ideations come from the fighting games of the past, because those type of games are full of intensive battles. And we too would like to deliver these type of games.
REBORN will be mostly third-person camera perspective. We really want the player to be able to see everything around them while they're in a fight, so they can get a good sense of what they should be doing during a fight and what enemy they should go to next. However, because there's so much detail in the game, we want them to be able to see everything super close up. So we also added in a first-person perspective so that they can really get a view of Musashi's eyes and see the world. The AI in the game is fantastic. We really wanted the casual audience to be able to play this game and complete it, but we also wanted the core audience to get a real challenge out of it and be able to combo and do tons of crazy stuff.
Last but not least, music in video games is somewhat of a lost and least funded parts of video game development. We want to bring a greater depth and tonal cohesion by giving greater atmosphere for our gamers. As one of the composers on REBORN, I want to bring a collaborative effort by diversifying our game sound. And after discussing REBORN with Brian Morales and Eric Desiderio, I was excited that they too felt the same way as I did about REBORN. We have some exciting music and sound effects lined up for you in this game.
REBORN needs an original sound, from the orchestral sound of historic Japan to the futuristic moods of Neo-Tokyo. We are going to forge a unique soundtrack that will inspire and unite gamers in the gaming experience. I'm really excited to be part of a team working on such a cool project. This game is unique in that it's the first time that we'll see 17th century Japanese lore fused with a futuristic cyberpunk setting. Our music team has been carefully crafted to accentuate the strengths of each composer to fit the different moods of the project. We're working together to nurture and develop this new genre of gaming. We are telling epic stories through music.
Music is such an important element, and especially in games, is one of the least budgeted parts of development. We want to express to you that music does play a major role in video games, and there is such a sense of user intimacy where it can reach the gamer directly rather than reaching some mythical mass audience. We want to bring to REBORN a realistic atmosphere in terms of music and sound, and I'm fortunate to have the opportunity to tell the story of Musashi through this music. Furthermore, we want to give a realistic impression of the music in the year 2188.
So now I'm here to ask for your support. Each one of our teammates has spent a great deal of time nurturing this game with their own passion and love for REBORN. The concept is such a great idea that we believe that our time is well spent and we have such a blast working on it. We would love to invite you to join our development team. Take a leap of faith with us and help us to make REBORN a reality. Thank you for your support.